Hi Rajesh, welcome
Hi.
to our DXP Podcast.
Generalist, your growth trajectory is bigger. So you, as a specialist, you get to a certain stage, but as a generalist, you can actually become like the head of HR, CHRO, and from CHRO, you can also become a CEO also. A lot of
Big frog in a small well. You should not.
Yeah.
You should.
anything that you see here from a product standpoint, service standpoint, if you add a prefix to AI, everybody eyes opens to it.
Hi Rajesh, welcome
Hi.
to our DXP Podcast. It's more like a, I'd say it's more like a conversation than an interview. So no need to worry, no need to fret about anything.
Sure,
It's
sure.
a casual conversation between two professionals discussing what's happening in the industry.
Sure.
The basic idea is that I am not fully sure about what's happening in the HR world, right? There are a lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of new ways that have come, especially with the age of AI on us, right? So the goal of this conversation is mostly to educate more HRs, is to educate more people, and to give everyone an idea of what's happening in the industry and how are the leaders dealing with it.
Sure.
That
sure.
being in mind, I want to start with a quick introduction, Naresh. So you are also an HR 40 and the 40, right? So
Yeah.
you are an HR leader. So I would have love to know more about you, what's happening in the space and how did your journey start?
So I'm a learning and development professional. I'm 17 years in the HR and the talent and development space. Predominantly a passionate trainer in terms of behavioral skills, leadership skills, soft skills is how I started off my career with. But I also come from an HR background. My dad was a general manager HR in PML. My brother is an HR guy. So we come from the HR runs in the blood. But I think we have a very conventional thought process towards the HR setup because, in HR also, there's something called a factory HR, like a corporate HR. Now we have something called HR business partnering. So we keep coining these terms in various ways, right? So I think that is quite fascinating. And in the journey, I work with organizations and moved into, being a generalist. Instead of being a L&D expert, I became more of a generalist, which is managing talent acquisition, training, HR business partnering, rewards and philosophy, and so on and so forth. Right. So in the 17 years of my journey, I worked with Vedanta, the current organizer I work with, the 10th organization. So I've successfully switched jobs and seen how things work in different industries and different organizations. But with Vedanta, it's going to be 5 years and 4 months now, one of the longest stints of my career. And I think the core reason is because of the kind of the role that happens, not just with Vedanta, but in the education system, in the edtech as an ecosystem, what HR as a role can play in the entire edtech system. And most of the edtechs are startups, and startups are owned by IITians. So as a HR, you have a lot more role to play in terms of making people charter as one of the key charters to improve productivity or improve business revenue and ensure that the founder's vision is getting charted out through this people charter. At the end of the day, people are your biggest assets in the organization, right? So I think that's how the journey has been so far.
That's actually really interesting. I think this is something that I have also have been hearing that there are different kinds of HR, right? And you can't really clump both within. So your approach as a generalist really stands out, and I would love to know more about this generalist approach because from what I have heard is HRs generally don't prefer generalists. They prefer hiring specialists for specific roles, right? So what is the whole deal? How did you become a generalist, and why do you think it's better than specializing in one field as a whole?
I don't think that specialists are better or gender. It's not the question of what is better. I think it's purely dependent on one's career choices to grow in the corporate ladder. So, for example, as a specialist, let's say as an L&D specialist, if you have to grow, when I say grow from a standpoint that, your titles, responsibilities, and of course come with compensation, right? At a certain level, your role gets stagnated for a specialist. And beyond a point, you really cannot, go above the roof, right? So the moment you're a generalist, then what happens is that you of course have to specialize in one of the core HR functions. For example, I'm a specialist in L&D, and I can also a specialist in business partnering, or rather it's called as OD, organization development. While you are a generalist for TA, your comp and ben and rewards, or HRISS, and so on and so forth, since you have expertise into all of these things, then you can also lead a larger function and grow in that charter in the organization. So the moment you're a generalist, your growth trajectory is bigger. So you, as a specialist, you get to a certain stage, but as a generalist, you can actually become like the head of HR, CHRO, and from CHRO, you can also become a CEO also. A lot of organizations that you see recently, that CHROs are the prospective CEOs of the organizations also today, while CFOs are becoming CEOs. There's a trend that the CHROs are also the CEOs these days, right? There are enough large giants and corporations that we can go and check it out, that the CHRO is turning out to become the CEOs in itself, right? So hence, it's not really a question of which is better. I think it's a question of one's career trajectory and how they want to grow up the corporate ladder.
That's actually a fairly good point, because I started out my career as a generalist. I still am a generalist, and I think being a generalist also what allowed me to grow all the way from starting my career back in sales, then into product, then went for a stint in tech and data, then went to marketing, and now leading the marketing team and leading the teams, the people working over here at Qualibot as well. But that's actually very interesting, right? So why don't you tell us more about how HR 40 under 40, like what's that all about? Like, is it like the Forbes 30 under 30, like what's happening here? I've never heard about it, and I'd love to know more about it.
See, there are many organizations which organize this HR 30 under 30 or 40 under 40. And let me just quickly touch upon, since you're saying that you're not aware of it, right? There are one set of organizations who makes this award felicitation process to just felicitate a HR person in the industry as part of their overall media outreach in the core ecosystem. For example, as an organization, I have a HR services that I provide. Let's say I provide recruitment services. So what I do is I partner with a media agency, then I ensure that I run a felicitation process where I call all the HR leaders and then make them be a part of that entire ceremony, so that you get leads. So you get directly access to HR leaders, you get leads, and you can interact with them, you can show your product, you can show your services, and then you can also give them a reward. Right? That's one side of the HR 30 under 30 or 40 under 40 is an acknowledgement. Rather than calling it an award, I would like to call it an acknowledgement for the time that they spent in the organization. Whereas there's another set of actual like a 40 under, like a Forbes or a Times or Business World, that the one that I was reported to. Then there's a criteria, there's an assessment process that goes into it also, which is there are, let's say, 100 and 200 plus applications flow into that agencies, where they pick, select, screen, shortlist, and say that, okay, these are top 100 of the potential candidate who can be the awardee of HR 40 and 40 for this year. One that has come, they send out a case study to you, like a problem statement and a case study to you, or a detailed case study, where you have to submit it with your current job responsibilities of what you're doing. For example, the case study that I remember I had was, how do you solve a culture problem and talent retention problems in the teachers arena, in the academics arena, is what the problem statement was. So since I was into Vedanta back then, and I'm still continuing to be in Vedanta, a larger charter that I handle is teachers. So the question was predominantly that what do you guys do differently in terms of retaining teachers, hiring teachers, focusing on teachers, how does that metrics look like, and so on and so forth. So you actually make an entire case study assignment and submit it to them. Once it's submitted, they review it. Based on the way how we've submitted it, based on the review, they will select you to come and do a presentation. It's called as a pitch presentation. If your proposal is not good enough, then they will not even call you for a pitch presentation. But then, of course, I got selected, and then there's a pitch presentation they call you for. The pitch presentation is, there are about 20 panel members virtually. That time I was on vacation in Goa. So just randomly they tell you 2-3 days in advance, this is your pitch presentation. So whatever you submitted it, you will have to do that pitch in about 5 minutes, clearly explaining what is the problem statement, what did you propose and solve. What was the outcome of it? And that 5 minutes or so includes the questions from the panel also. So you should give the time for the panel to pitch it and then have questions raised from them. And these panel members are all senior HR leaders in the industry. So, like the CHROs in companies like L&D and so on and so forth. Then all senior leaders who are part of that entire thing, and global HR leaders also be a part of it, just not Indian organizations, right? Then once you do a pitch presentation, then they select that these are the people who have actually solved it and has the ability to become a HR 40. Then they do a final assessment and then decide who are the top 40 people in this 200 odd applicant that came into it, who are under the age group of 40, who's been awarded. That's the awarding process that goes into it.
Damn. Oh,
Not making no sense like that.
wow, okay. Oh, dude, that sounds so amazing. I mean, like, first of all, obviously, congratulations. Part of the lengthy process. I would love to know what kind of case study you also submitted, right? Like, what was the project that you worked on? And that just sounds very prestigious about, man. Again, very congratulations.
No, thank you so much. I take it with more humbleness and humility. But let me tell you why I applied for it. This was not to get that medal on the shoulders. I think I was at a stage in my career that there's a question that kicks in for all of us. Even if you're a seasoned HR professional or even if you're a seasoned business leader, that you've run multinational organizations and all of that. I'm sure as human beings, we come to a point that, do I know what I'm doing is correct or not? There's some bit of a seeking validation kicks in. So there was a point in the 2024, I was thinking that what am I doing? Like, whether I'm doing is right or not. I just wanted to kind of check if my abilities are in place or not in place. In fact, I often urge my team members also, you should consistently attend interviews, job interviews. Whether you go join the company or not is a different story, but attend interviews so that you know. No, genuinely, I mean, I tell this, I'm a strong advocate of it, because if you don't know what's the industry looking for, whether you're really there or not there, then you're just beating around the bushes. You're probably in that small little space that you think that what you're doing is great, what you think is good, because you don't get an outsider in feedback. So my intent was applying for that was this, that okay, like, are you really up there? Can you really compete with the top guys? Do you have this competencies in place? Do you have the validation in place? It is mostly like a validation process for me, like this entire journey of it. But yeah, I mean, it comes with its own. We're having this conversation because of that, right? Like, it comes with its own benefits into it. But internally, it was mostly to get your competencies checked, whether you're there in place or not. Yeah.
So I think that's a very valid point, right? Making sure that your competencies are in check, making sure you're not becoming, as we call it, right? Big frog in a small well. You should not be right. You should have that urge to upskill, and also having that validation constantly that, hey, we are doing this now. Right.
And who's better than you to tell you whether you're good or not? It's not about somebody else coming and tell you what you're good or not. Who's better than you to tell that whether you're good? And if that itself is a question, then all of us need to get ourselves checked, is what my opinion is on this.
I mean, that's completely fair, which actually also comes to a very good segue to the next section, which is about training people, right? Times have changed compared to what we were 4 years ago. Times have really changed. The entire culture has seen a shift with the way that firstly LLMs and now actual Gen AI models have changed our lives. There has been a lot of shift when it comes to what kind of skills a person needs. There have been a big shift in terms of what kind of skills a company really needs, right?
Yeah.
So, and like, to be very honest, we are AI labs. Everything keeps on changing every week. Like, we also have no idea about what's happening and what's going to happen next. We talk about the zero models, so we talk about what's the RAG learning going to do next. In this world where everything is changing so fast and so rapidly at that stage as well, how do you take care of getting and then training the right people?
Right. I mean, take it with a pinch of salt of what I'm saying. Today, anything that you see here from a product standpoint, service standpoint, if you add a prefix to AI, everybody's eyes open to it, right?
Yes. I will 100% agree with you. That's the marketing trick. I do it all.
Last week, we wanted to purchase a mattress home. Then we were just exploring something called AI mattress. We just want a mattress to sleep. We don't want any AI to be there. So,
what is
why get that
mattress? Like, what
I did not even go explore it because I just want to buy a simple mattress that I can sleep. Like, don't feed me with a lot of information. Don't feed me with a lot of complexity. Then eventually what I would do is I end up not buying a matters at all because it's so much of loaded information. The core purpose of what I wanted to do, I would probably let go and then start going in the journey of AI matters. There's something called as Gen AI matters. There's something called as predictive analysis on matters making, etc. Which is irrelevant information for me for my current need. But why I gave that context is because like whatever that I've been following also in the space of HR, how AI can have an influence into it. I clearly know what, like you said, no, a lot of things are changing in a fast-paced manner. But what is not changing and what will never change is the human element in the entire process. The emotional intelligence is something that can never change. I think AI is introduced to reduce the transactional activities of what HR does so that we can focus on the core human element of nurturing people, grooming people, developing people, the core aspect of HR. The human resources, the human part of it is what is needed. While these AIs are not there to replace HR professionals, the AIs are there to replace your transactional activity, what you do. That is, my daily salary processing, I invest 2-3 people to just do the salary processing. Can I just reduce that by having some kind of a bot sitting and doing this so that we can focus on the real human conversations, real human connections and developing it? Is what the content that we started. So keeping that as a base, how our hiring and training looks like. Our hiring processes, or like let's say a training processes, it's the technology that is involved in that hiring and training process is to purely bring down our transactional effort being invested to provide that service to an employee. However, that is not the core ethos with what we would hire somebody or train somebody. Now, what do I mean by this? There are many organizations who does interviews where a bot is interviewing you and then make a judgment and then come and then say whether he's a select or she is select or not. The ability of AI is so powerful. So off late, I've been meeting a lot of AI vendors also in that space of talent acquisition, where they come and say that your entire starting from the requisition raised till the time that the onboarding happens, you don't need any human intervention at all, including the interviewers taking interviews. If you train that individual, you can interview the way how you like to interview, right? We would probably want to get there some point in time, no doubt about it. But what we currently do is the transactional activity. How does the requisition get raised? How is it getting flowed? The candidate mailer has to go out, and applications have been applied. How do we get those applications? Screened relevant applications for us. So I think that's where we use AI or a technology into it. But we still retain that culture assessment being done by a human being. And why do I say this? Like, it's a startup. Startups are made by founders. The founder is the face of a startup. The founder's vision. In fact, the journey of a founder is that the vision keeps translating until certain period of time to clearly understand, okay, this is what I want to go after it, right? Like, I have had a startup in my life. I'm sure you would have thought about doing something on your own. We would have all thought about something. But by time is when you realize that, okay, this is not what I want to do. And eventually come to a point, okay, this is my vision, which I want to live for the rest of my life. So yeah, startup always goes through the transition period. Like a startup founder would have come with all the zeal saying that I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. But by time, it will evolve. So I think our people practices should marry that founder's vision. As a CHRO, if I myself would not marry that vision, how would I bring in AI to understand my founder's vision and then make an assessment, make a hiring at least the initial stages of my establishment? Maybe if I'm fully established, I have clear charters, clear vision. We know how we're heading towards. Systems are in place, processes are in place, and all of that in place. Then we would try and get in the phase, in a phased manner, to see how we can remove these dependencies of our decision making of hiring an individual, not dependent on the person, but dependent on the systems and processes. I think that's what we do, and that's what I would always recommend also from a hiring standpoint for startups precisely. But there's an established organization, the systems are placed. It's not a founder-driven organization. It's mostly a CEO sitting there and then driving this organization. So it's a different ballgame altogether, right? Same logic applies in training as well. Today, 15 years ago, when I was a learning development professional, there were certain key skills and certifications one should possess to become an L&D professional. Like, have you done a TTT, Train the Certification Program? Are you a Dale Carnegie certified guy? These are the questions that we would get asked like 15 years ago. If I'm doing a leadership training program, then somebody will ask me, are you certified on situation leadership framework? Ken Blanchard, it's called Ken Blanchard is the author. If you're not certified that, you cannot really do it. Then let's say if I'm doing a coaching or a counseling conversation and then I would use certain psychometric tools, then we would say that are you a DISC certified guy to even do this conversation? If you have to be a coach, then there is ICF coach certification called as ACC, PCC, advanced level of PCC, professional coaching certifications. Only then you actually get into being those organizations, facilitate these learning programs, facilitate these coaching programs. But today it's not like that. You go to LinkedIn, all of us are life coaches, all of us are wellness coaches, all of us are some way or the other. There's nothing wrong about it because I think it becomes so easy to reach out. There's nothing wrong about it. But bottom line again is that when you have those accreditations, this is a niche skill in itself, right? Training is a niche skill. Now again, while anybody can become a trainer, while anybody can become a teacher, unless I'm not cracked physics myself. Me teaching physics, out of 10 people teaching physics and me teaching physics will have definitely some kind of an impact on the learner. So that's what I think we should be concerned about. While the learner consumes a lot of information, while we all of us consume through YouTube on how do we do this, how do we do that. Then if you go to YouTube and say, how do I swim? You will know. Then did you become a great swimmer? No, right? I will enroll myself into a professional swimming institute, have my professional coach training me on swimming if I want to really do that, right? I think that's the philosophy that we take in training as well. The philosophy that we take in training is that even if you don't have the certifications and stuff like that, but one has to go through that process of understanding how do you train an adult. The adult learns in a different fashion, whereas the kids learn in a different fashion. For kids, we say pedagogy. For adults, we say andragogy. And andragogy means that adult learns in a different way. If I tell you, listen, Tarun, do this. I don't know if you listen to me. Why should I listen to you? Who are you? Right? Then I tell you, listen, if you do this, there's fire. Tarun, don't go there. You will say, really? Why? Why should I not go? Then I should take your hand and put it in the fire. Then you will know that, okay, it's going to burn my hands. Now I should not go because adult really learns in different fashion, right? That's called visual auditory kinesthetic. Now, these are all jargons. It might sound like jargons, but unless formally somebody is not trained, known this, how do you devise it into an execution? I think that's what goes in the process of, training us. Again, while AIs cannot help in devising, these AIs can help in bringing the operational intricacies that is going behind all of what I said. It can reduce the effort that it goes in terms of creating this content, the operational intricacies, make videos out of it, and give us a video module. Trust me when I say this, even today, a classroom facilitation still is one of the best experience that you can create. Even if I create a VR learning models and so on and so forth. I go to a lot of campuses, do these talks, the energy, the real vibe, coming together and learning, coming together and breaking, I think is still there. I believe that it still continue to be there.
No, this is actually really interesting. I was also thinking about, yes, what you're saying is right, because there's no way that you can replace an entire project, right? You can replace an entire department there. Obviously, you can increase the efficiency of it, right? But the core fundamentals come from human beings, comes from the people in the team, right? This is, I think, covered in a very nice book that I read very recently, the AI Snake Oil, where something as serious and as dependent as hiring should not be taken by an AI. Reason being by an AI system, reason being that a system cannot take responsibilities. A system can't take the burn of it. People will, companies will. So when you talk about the same fact that hiring should not be taken from end to end by an AI system, I am also completely against that. Because while yes, and by the way, this is something that we also do, right? We also help companies hire faster, right? It's because we have an AI assisted system. We don't have an AI system. Because we first understand the company culture, we understand what kind of people companies need, and then we go and look back and talk to our pool of candidates. Okay, is this something that you want to do? Are you happy working 5 days a week, from the office, or do you want something hybrid? Okay, these teams, these entire teams, they play Dota. Are you even a gamer, or do you prefer physical sports? So all those things, right? And apart from, yes, I need to know these skills, which obviously AI can help you understand better, if they know or they don't. But that complicated intricacies of, hey, the entire team plays Dota. Are you a Dota person, or are you more of a, I want to play basketball, I want to go on rides person? That thing, again, still not quite there, right? And when you keep that in consideration, I feel that decisions as crucial as hiring should not be taken completely end-to-end AI. Now, coming back to training, amazing point again, Rajesh. I don't think that, yes, I would trust a complete AI bot to teach me things. Reason being, there is no human touch, there is no human connect. But at the end of the day, when we are both sitting together and I'm doing something wrong and you'll be like, hey, don't do this instead, I would listen. If a bot tells me just terms and conditions, hey, accept, click, don't show me this ever again, go off. So I think that's human connect, right? Really important. That's a great point. By the way, sidetrack, how is AI helping you in hiring today? And then how is AI helping you in training people today? Let's cover that.
I mean, like I said, all the operational intricacies in the hiring. For example, be it from posting a job ad into job portals to, okay, back then what used to happen is when you post a job ad, even if you go today on LinkedIn, that you go see that it's a job ad posted. In about an hour, you will see that there are 100 plus applications. So do you think that somebody sitting there and reviewing all 100 plus applications? No. That's where AI comes into play. So the entire selection process, like the screening process of what we say, right? That's where AI gets introduced, where it helps us in telling that for this job description, for this role description, there have been 1,000 plus applications. Out of 1,000 plus applications, these are the top 10. Give us a rank, if I prompt it that way. Top 10 or 15 who are relevant to what you say. So a lot of manual effort of reviewing those applications solves the problem for us in terms of resume screening as a process, right? Now, once the screening is done, I think our current tools and techs are involved in terms of, I call it lead churning. The leads came into it, churning those leads and giving those filtered leads to the recruiter to pick up the phone and call a candidate saying, hey, I have a job opportunity, are you interested, or whatever. So till there is all these milestones that we have is where it's automated, where its AI comes into play, tells us that what kind of a rank, is it suitable, not suitable. And we've tried that all in-house. It's not an external AI product that we've developed. In-house, we've tried all of it to see how it can give us some kind of a prediction whether this guy will go into it or not. But I think the capability of still introducing that goes far beyond just application screening or resume screening or giving you a prospective thing. So the moment, I think I've been interacting with a lot of AI vendors off late, a lot of players. Of course, all of their models look alike, but I think there's one interesting partner, which I'll probably refrain from saying the name. They had this interesting, like a product, AI product. After the resume screening application is done, these are the prospective people. Now, the AI will call itself to Tarun and say, hey, Tarun, and there's going to be a conversation between that. You'll prompt the entire person in such a fashion that, Tarun, you applied for the job. Are you interested to this job? Tarun says yes. And the AI says, great, now that you're interested about it, let me quickly explain you what the role is. So whatever the candidate and the recruiter used to do the first conversation, that entire first conversation called a screening conversation can get replaced by an AI. So which means that suddenly I'm reducing the heads of people who are just picking up the call and doing like a telecalling job, who are doing a screening job. Suppose the screening, then there's another recruiter who would send the calendar invite. Their interview is scheduled, let me know your calendar. So now the call is done automatically. In the call, I would have asked you what time is feasible and so on and so forth. Automatically send the calendar invites, block the calendar of the individual. And in the calendar invite, it will put the resume, it will put the details, who are you going to meet, all of that well in advance. And then just gets it over there. So which means from 1,000 application, for me to do a call and schedule an interview would typically take about a day or so and have like 1 or 2 recruiters to do this. So suddenly just get reduced to just a fraction of a 5 minutes job and then just gets over with it. And there's an extension to this. Like after that is done, let's say my first round of interview is like a written test that has to happen. That again, AI can trigger into it, get the guy on a virtual connect, like a Gmeet, whatever, proxy enabled, where you do it, the AI monitors it like a class monitor, and ensures that whatever that you're saying or doing is as per our guidelines and so on and so forth, and moves into it. Let's say one of the rounds is that I have to have a physical interview or a hiring manager to interview people. Again, I can replace that, train the AI to tell that, you know what, these are the questions I should ask. It's literally fascinating to see, and it's also very scary to see it, by the way. But you can literally replace the hiring manager and do a physical demo. It understands the audio, it understands the video, it tells everything, and then gives you a final report. And the report is extremely exhaustive, pretty fascinating report, where it tells you clearly that Tarun, where did he score well? In which competency did he score well? In which competency did not score well? Of course, we have transcripted whatever that Tarun said during the interview process. That transcript will also tell that whether Tarun was referring to some of the books or referring to ChatGPT and give the answers during the interview. It will give you all that details and final recommendation by the AI itself that, for the role that you're looking at, I would rate him this, highly recommend for him to continue or not for him to continue. So which means, typically we say tag to hire, right? Which is from the time the job got open till the time I get somebody to get selected is one funnel. And then from selection to joining a different story. So till the selection at least, typically we say 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 45 days and so on and so forth. Suddenly this entire process just suddenly gets reduced. You're able to make a decision the moment you post an ad, a job ad, you're able to make a decision probably in a day or two on what the kind of the candidate pool that you got, who are the potential candidate, did all of the rounds itself. After that, if you still want to meet, then it's just going to be like an addition to it. Just like a cherry on the top and then say that, okay, I want to meet and see what you can bring on the table. I think the capability is enormous. But like I said, it depends on the organizational maturity. It depends on the need of the organization that to what extent we want to get there. And if we get there, how our decision of, hiring is one of the most critical element in the entire people ecosystem. You hire right, you invest less on training, you invest less on managing, you invest everything after that is lesser. But your hiring failure is going to bite us more. You have to invest more on training, managing them, that if the performer is not there after employee, then doing a replacement of that employee. These costs are like really massive. It's typically around 70-80% of the overall compensation of that particular role. 2x of that is the hiring replacement cost that ends up becoming into it, right? So hence, it depends on the organization size, the maturity of the organization, the systems and processes, to what capability that we can get into it. But in my opinion, with whatever that I've seen it, 90% of organizations use AI or tools for the first phase of it, which is job ad to screening and then pass it on to a recruiter that these are the prospective leads there. But the capacity and the capability is far more than that. Fascinating, but yeah.
Right. No, I completely agree with you because what you just explained is the exact system, if not more, what we are using currently, right? So the ability to, and again, this is something that we have personally faced because when we are hiring for an ML engineer, I think that was around 46 days to hire the first one. And then the tech team just got frustrated. They're like, what is this? Why does it need, why do I need to have 3 rounds of interviews and make sure the timings are perfect just to hire one person? Why can't I make this better? So the entire tech team made an entire system which again does everything that you said, right? The telephony and obviously it's vernacular, and then we move all the way to tech rounds where exactly like you said, right? How professionally was that dressed? What was the background? Did I switch my tabs or not? Keeping track of all those things. And that exact system, right, has helped us to now move from that 46 days to maybe less than 48 hours. And that entire system is just so amazing that it also scares me that hey, while doing all of this, am I reducing the human touch? Are we reducing the are you really going to gel with the company or not? Hey, is this something that you really need or want? What is what's that major difference? And I think, that's very crucial because the way that things are moving, especially in the age of AI, like you said, right, we have also given the system to a couple of GCCs in India, and they love this because they receive 2,000, 5,000 applications per role. Nobody has the bandwidth to go call 5,000 people, screen all of their resumes, give a technical round, give one more technical round because nobody has. Everyone has stopped judging a candidate based on the resumes, right? That has stopped. Most of the candidates don't even update. Most of the candidates don't even have a proper CV. So what's the best way to judge a candidate? Give them a technical interview. Can you give technical interview to all 3,000 candidates and waste time, effort and energy in taking all of that? No. That's where AI is coming in. But I am feeling, and again this is my perspective from marketing because marketing is not like that, right? There's a lot more vibe going on than technical skills. If I know that you can run ads, great, but can you really understand what kind of branding am I going for? What kind of brand I really want to start? What kind of team I really want to establish? And those things I'm still not sure how I can capture, so I take my interviews myself. But that's actually a good point and also leads to the next segue, right? Talent in the age of AI. I have personally seen, and I think this is also bigger a problem. We recently read an article for every AI job in India. Every 10 AI jobs in India, one person, one talented person really exists, like, who can fill those jobs, who has the right skill set. While each and every candidate, I think this is something that you should have probably faced. Every candidate put all the jargons, all the they'll copy the job description, they'll paste it to ChatGPT, be like, hey, update my resume, make it make sense for this job posting, and send it to you. Half the keywords they would not know, half the keywords they would not even care about. They'll just put it, show it a 90% match, and get to the interview, right? Get past that friction point. And half the candidates who are really good don't even do half of that. They're like, hey, if I like the job, if I really if they really want me, they'll get me. Right? So there's a lot of candidates who are not putting in a lot of effort and are getting through that initial screening, the LinkedIn top match that you said, right? And then there's the other part of candidates who feel that they are good enough in the work that they do, that they're not even doing it, and they are getting left behind. So this balance of talent, especially in the age of AI, how are you managing it? How are you mitigating this? Because I have been feeling that this is a big problem, right? Which is why I think we trust referrals more than external applications. But what are your thoughts about this balance of, there's a mass application people who just customize their resumes for every job posting, and the actually talented people who are not even applying, who don't show the intention concrete, but they're just sitting and chilling. How do you manage this balance?
No, I think you're right, and it is very evident also. So there have been certain positions that I've been looking to hire in my own team, which has been long pending for several months now. And the reason is not that, there's a dearth of talent. I'm sure it's not that the reason is. I think it's a boon and a curse of having a ChatGPT, in my opinion. My personal opinion. A lot of people disagree to what I say, but it's my personal opinion. For example, let's say 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, I'm a writer also by interest and passion. I write films and I produce films, I make films and stuff like that. So for people like us, writing is not just a skill, it's a creative process to keep your mind active, to keep your thoughts flowing, and then be very candid, be very real to the problems, right? Now, what happens with this tools like ChatGPT has come is that the whole process of thinking ability is gone for a target. I see it in my teams also. Like using ChatGPT for email writing skills is something that I'm not able to relate to. It's a simpler email that you have to write it. Use your brains. Just do it and then send it. So usage of ChatGPT there, what happens is it's not making me think. It's just making me so dependent and not making me think. And the same case happens with the creating my resumes also. So what happens when we get application? It looks a very fancy application, matches my JD, everything is perfect, and we would like to meet. It's a disastrous conversation. Like not even a word of what's written on the resume, the candidate is able to explain. The candidate is able to express or detail it out. So then in that case, I would recommend what my personal recommendation is. Like don't put anything on the paper what you really know. Put what you know. At least in the interview process, what I would assess is not something that it's very fancy. What I would look at is, even if you've done only one thing in your life, can you explain that one thing very clearly, extremely sharper, with metrics to me? That's the only thing that you've done. That's far more better for me, rather than you saying that I've done 10 things but you don't go detailed in any of those 10 things, right? It works against you. So the answer to your question is, yes, there is a problem in terms of, tools like ChatGPT has come into play where everybody's access to it, which is a boon in itself. And also works as a curse for the people who are not adapting to this, right? So if that people who really felt that they had the talent, if they really are fit to the job, then you should have done that. You should have also ensured that your resume gets flashed in front of your, hiring managers. Because now you have great talent, you're a great singer, but you'll sing only in the bathroom and expect people to know you. Like expect
that exactly.
What's the plan, right? Like now you're just stuck there, and then you're cribbing that nobody's appreciating my singing. No? Nobody has the time to come knock the door and say, hey, Rajesh, you're a great singer, you've been singing in the bathroom, never get an opportunity. You have to go out, make your voice heard, present it, and that's where I think it helps it with that. So it works as a curse for them as well. Is there a solution to it? I think we all will reach a point. I'm confident about that. What is irreplaceable is somebody who's skilled, competent is irreplaceable irrespective of how many of our AI tools comes into play. For example, if my ability is writing, there will be, of course, ChatGPT will replace most. It's happening in films also. If you look at it today, there is Script Doctor as an app. There are video AI video making tools today. Like you don't even need a filmmaker, camera, and all that. You upload the entire script. It will make the films and give it to you. Then, if that starts happening, then the ones who are really, really sharp, the ones who are really top of their game, the ones who are extremely anal about what they know as a craftsmanship, will shine, will stand out. Because now you're not competing with like 10 other likes of yours. You're just competing with 10 other like of yours who are like better, best. AI has come and then giving like a standout thing. That means you as a human now has to be like 10x better in how you show your craftsmanship. So I strongly believe that while the guy who's good his competencies, while he's not adapting to this culture of AI or ChatGPT and blah blah blah, due to which he might be losing out on some opportunities. Maybe that's been the problem. But however, I strongly believe somebody who's good, somebody who's really competent, you will find your way to stand out, and you will find your way to catch your way and then make yourself, up there is what I feel.
No, I'm not
going to directly answer your question. I'm not sure about that, but I just want to give a perception towards it rather than giving like a closed-ended solution to it, because we're all struggling to figure that out in our own domains.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, I have always told candidates that if you were really that good, you would also be that much more adaptable to what's happening. You can't expect to be the best keyboard typer in the world and get an award for it anymore. You can only go to monkey type and probably get the leaderboard. That's it. If you are really good at something, you make something out of it, right? You showcase your talent. You go out there and you scream about it. And which is completely fair. But yes, Rajesh, one more thing that since we are already at the 50-40 minute mark, right? So these are set 3 questions I ask all the folks, right? The first set of question is, what is that one thing or that one turning point in your life that helped you reach where you are?
Oh, wow.
Yes. Everyone has that one turning point. I'll be honest, I had one at the start of my career when I became...
Professionally or personally, you say?
I mean, honestly speaking, it depends, right? For me, it was both a professional and a personal one. For me, it was I met a founder who trusted me so much that he wanted me to move from sales to marketing just so that I can get better at sales. And since then, I became a generalist, from design to editing to all the jargons I started doing. So that was my turning point. So yes, back in Creator Club, I was doing creator onboarding. It's mostly a kind of a sales job where you get more creators to join the platform for free, right? So they don't get anything, we get everything, sort of a deal. But after doing all of that, I reached a place where I started becoming a strategist of how we can provide more value to these creators, right? What is the thing that will make them do more of it? So from that, I got all the way to marketing, made the value proposition, made the decks, from investors to everyone. I was there in the front. And that was a turning point in my life, right? Where I started exploring more about marketing, more about which books to read, more about how to do a proper UX case study, right? How to talk to users. So all of those things happened to me from back then. And since then, whether it's performance ads, whether it's brand building, whether it's collaborations, wherever you say, I've been there. That was my turning point that helped me reach where I am today. So what was that one turning point? It can be professional, it can be personal, it can be a mix of both.
Sure. I've never thought in the direction. That's the thing, I'm taking time. But now that you explained this to me, I think personally, professionally, there are 3 turning points that I'll talk about it maybe. It's a long journey that I've had, 17 years in the working space and stuff like that. The first turning point...
entrepreneur, right? You also had your own business.
I have my own... It's an HR and a media platform that I run. Production of voiceovers and business. I think when I was 19, I was training the Karnataka State Police Department on public interaction skills. And these are all cops, from sub-inspector to deputy commissioner of police. And these guys knew that I was so young, and they were like, what is that you're going to come and teach us? What is that you're going to come and train us? And how do we deal with people, right? And it's a 3-day workshop, 3 full-day workshop. So day 1, when I went in, one of the sub-inspectors, he woke up and said that, you know what, I have a tiring day, I'm going to sleep in this, right? So you blabber whatever you want to blabber. I have my son and daughter who's of your age, so I don't think I'm going to get retired in the next 1 year or 2 years or so. So my authorities have asked me to come and sit and take this, and come and sit here. Very humiliating. That point. It's the beginning of the day, my first hour of my training, and somebody speaking like this. I was always gutsy in all the manner. I stood there because I knew what my need was. So I told him, sir, if I don't change your perception in the next 3 days, I leave this profession called as training. And I said, this is not about 24 people audience. Then I went with my training, blah, blah, blah. After 3 days, there was media which came in and then asking me, the first time police is getting trained on a soft skill rather than a hard skill, right? They're trained on hard skill, but never on a soft skills, right? And they were taking the interviews, and his name is Madhavaya, who was a sub-inspector in Nazarabad police in Mysore. So when Madhavaya sir was asked, sir said that 3 days ago, I uttered these words to this kid, but after attending his workshop for 3 days now, I intend to go back and change the way how I operated, which I did not operate in the last 30 years of my service before I get retired, and I will do this. When I heard this, I was thinking that he's just saying it. We all appreciate each other, right? For the goodness of what we bring on. But since I'm from the same city, after 3 months, I just saw him on the roads. And then he's like, how are you? Please come to my police station. So I took him. Then he's like, sir, these are my constable. Please train them, sir. Please train them. Then there was a case. There's a lady and husband. There's a family conflict. He was like, sir, you stand there and see me, sir, how I interact, how I do. Just observe everything and give me feedback. And then after that happened, then he took me out for a buttermilk. And in the buttermilk, he said this, sir, after your workshop, there's not even a single day I've not forgotten you. And every word that you uttered it out, I remembered and put it into practice. That moment gave me such clarity that, okay, the rest of my life, I will choose to be a person who will nurture and do that. I think that's one turning point. The second turning point is when I got married to my wife. I think from a arrogant, short-tempered, which is still there in it somewhere, hiding, but from that lot of energy, not knowing where to invest this energy, and just going everywhere in that energy. Then I think after I met my wife and married my wife, that arrogant guy ended up becoming a little more sensible man. Becoming a father is, through that process. And becoming a father for the first time in one's journey itself is amazing in my opinion. And then the second time I became a father of a daughter. There's nothing. So I think that was a turning point for my wife that happened. And professionally with Vedanta, the third turning point is when I met my co-founder Anand Prakash in the interview. And I remember in the interview he said that we're hiring somebody for 14 years, 14 years we were running Vedanta. We never had a training guy. We've hired you. I want to know what you will change.
The old Rajesh who came in front of police guy came in like, you will see.
No, but I was a little secret now. I was not very like the role. I was a corporatist guy. I was like, what will you change? I want to know that I'll be having a watch on you. And fast forward to the same year, the training intervention that we did in the first year of Vedanta, it became one of the most award-winning training interventions in the entire tech ecosystem. Even as on today, Vedanta is the only organization which is a dedicated teacher training organizations in the country where we have such kind of a culture fit into this. So maybe that kind of a questioning, that kind of an ability has been a turning point for me of whatever that I studied in my books of MBAs, in my IMs of my post-graduation, whatever that I did, all of that in the first 10-12 years, I think the last 4-5 years I've been able to put everything into practice. Today, if any theory that you speak about HR practices, I can confidently say we put that into practice. We want to talk about how do you assess competencies, I'm confident that we know how to assess competencies. Not jargons, but put that into actions, executing it into actions. That's been, I think, the third turning point.
So that's actually very
nice. Did I say the fourth turning point is meeting you today?
Yes. That's the goal. That's always been the goal of these interviews, right? But I have, again, your last one is a very perfect segue to my next question, which is to all the HR leaders, all the HR professionals, all the students who want to become HRs in the future, right? Those 3 books that have changed your life.
There's one book called Organizational Behavior. As an HR leader, one should get, 3 books. Actually, there's one straight book that one should purchase it, buy it. And it's not a book that you consume it at a stretch. It's like a Bible. Whenever you find a problem, you go refer to that book as a Bible. So I would strongly It's written by Stephen R. Robbins. There are Indian editions, there are global editions, but whatever edition that one can pick it up. This is a mandatory book called as Organizational Behavior. One should have it to become a HR and HR leader. Like I said, it's not a book to be consumed, read it, done, just keep it. Like anytime you find let's say there's a problem of succession planning, you don't know how to find successors. Then you go, find out the framework, find out the science, and then do this, which is something that I would strongly recommend, right? There are other leadership books, like there is Stephen Covey's book, Shiv Khera's book to Person, How Can You Win? That's something that I follow also. This is not related to exactly to HR, but I think the personality of you comes out as a HR. It's not only about your acumen, it's also about your personality, that what you choose to present to people, right? What kind of a personality that you want to demonstrate. That's when people buy you. When people buy you, they buy your product, they buy your service, they buy your intention, they buy your thought process, they buy your vision, they buy everything. It's all a consequence of it. But they don't buy your personality. Even if you're solving the biggest problem of their life, they don't really buy you, right? I think these self-help books like Shiv Khera's, like How Did I Win? And then the Stephen Covey's leadership books. These can actually help to build a better personality to showcase you, not probably from HR competency standpoint. There's one more book that actually transformed my whole philosophy of looking at life in general and looking at life as a professional, looking at life as a person, which is about Fidel Castro. A diehard fan of that individual. This book was introduced to me a couple of years ago, my wife. If one has to become a leader, that's the go-to book to look at his life biography to see what is the purpose, what is the mission, and how do you drive an entire nation toward that vision and the purpose, costing your own, whims and fancies around it, and still standing tall for that purpose and vision. So I think that as a leadership also helps in it. But I think these 3-4 books that I said helps you to become a better person. But in an organization, for it to be a HR, which needs to have a core competency, even if you not have an MBA, definitely the Organizational Behavior book by Stephen R. Robbins. That's been my go-to place. Still, it is as on today. When I get stuck, that's my Bible to go back and check how do we solve this.
That's fair. I think this is one thing that I've learned after taking a lot of this, that every person has their one Bible, right? So for me, it's 22 immutable laws of marketing. Every time I'm stuck, I just okay, what do I do now? And then I go back. Always is always has been great. But these are great. You'll find this specific snippet a lot on Instagram and on LinkedIn, just going across saying hey, this is what you guys need. And the final question is again part of 3, right? 3 questions, 3 of each. The final question that a lot of people take time and a lot of people have not had the chance to answer to a lot of folks is, what is that one advice that you would A, first give to an organization, then B, give to your peers or people who are at your level, and C, to someone who wants to get to your level. So we start off with organization. What is that one piece of advice that you as an HR leader wants to give to an organization in general, right? That's assuming that this is the last one that everyone will always remember you for. What is that one piece of advice that you give to an organization?
You should have shared this question in advance to me. I would have asked ChatGPT.
That takes out the fun out of it, okay? That's the
when I asked ChatGPT, what is that one advice I want to give to our organization? Not sure if it's an advice, but I think the definition of a culture, of course, this advice coming from a HR standpoint, people's standpoint. I don't want to give advices like, treat people fairly, treat people and all that. I'm sure that's a debate. From to an entity, this advice is not to a person, it's to an entity, it's an establishment. From a people standpoint, the definition of culture and the demonstration of culture should be same for all levels, for all individuals, and made it transparent on what these demonstrations are across the board is what is my advice going to be. I repeat that. The definition of culture, what does culture mean? And demonstration of culture, which is how let's say my definition of culture is that how I treat people, assumption, right? And this is what A, B, C, D are the layers of treating people. So the definition of that culture and the demonstration of what I do culture should be the same across all individuals, all person, all levels, and so on and so forth. And made it transparent to the entire organization ecosystem where this is what it means, this is how we demonstrate, this is how we apply, this is how we encourage, this is how we educate, this is what we appreciate, this is not what we appreciate, this is what we recognize, this is not what we don't recognize, this is what we reward, this is not what we reward. Making that will make it a people-first organization at any given point in time. There's no right culture or wrong culture, but just making this happen will at least get you to a place where you want to get into it. The second question was what? Advice to the ones who are at my levels, is it?
Yes, like current HR leaders or people who are who have been in the HR space for the last, I would say 5, 6, 7 years, right? What would you suggest to them? Like, since you guys are the ones who are leading the culture forward, what is the one piece of advice you would also want them to join your statement, right?
They call it as HR business partners. I'm stealing this line from one of the CHROs who told me once in my IAM journey that we are titled as HR business partners, but I think we are not HR business partners. HRs are not business partners. HR is business. Let's wear that hat. Let's go with that conviction. It's not arrogance. If a CFO has a say on the board, the CHRO has equally a say on the board. The moment you start looking at saying that HR is business, you are not partners, you are business. People is one of the biggest variable in an organization, and you are responsible for a people organization. How can you become a partner? You are that person, you are that people. So let's demonstrate that. That's what I feel.
And one was want to reach to your place.
Don't take advices. That's all. That's not the best. Just go after it. No one do it whatever. Don't take advices. I didn't when I was there in the space, hence that recommendation.
No, it's that is one advice that I take very wholeheartedly. Don't take advices. you just figure being from a startup ecosystem from my days, it's always a move fast, break things, figure things out. You will figure things out. It's never too hard.
I tell you why I said that. See, I could have said the same thing for the first and second, right? Because I clearly know the advice that I gave for the organization would or would not consider it. Might or might not consider it, and I don't give too much of head to that also. My fellow colleague whom I told what I told would look at it, acha, kuch philosophy bol diya, HR is business. What is HR is business? They would make a mockery out of it. If I were to be listening to this podcast or a video, I would do the same thing. But the last question, I'm sure people are listening to. That's my core community. That community is looking forward to become that. So I definitely have to be honest and genuine with them. Is that, brother and sister, don't take advice. Figure it out. Life will happen.
No, that's really amazing, Rajesh. Thank you so much for your time. Sadly, I've already been 4 minutes too late to the podcast. This has been a lovely conversation. Like you said, Pravya will be uploading it all across LinkedIn. You'll find snippets, you'll find everything. But thank you so much for your time, man. This was a lovely conversation that I'll remember for days and days. So,
thank you so
much. A really fun conversation. We'll connect once again. To discuss more about AI maybe this time. I think that was the agenda that we always sidetracked from. But
at the end of the day, we are humans. So we have to get into human conversations and AI conversations. But thank you so much, Tarun. Lovely having this conversation with you. For the first time I'm meeting you and talking to you. It didn't seem that way. Thank you for making it so comfortable. Thank you for making this so amazing and insightful for me. Take care.
Rajesh, thank you so much. Have a lovely day, and yes, we'll catch up soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.